Good afternoon. This video documentation is with regards to what we believe to be initially a shroud concern for the F30 headlights. And so just want to give you a bit more kind of insight into what goes on into causing this issue, and then just better kind of illustrate the mechanics of the headlight to give you a better understanding of the issue here. Now, from the photos that we've seen that you provided us, it is the case that you did show us that the high beam reflectable was definitely out of center with the black shroud surrounding area right there. And at first glance, we did kind of let you know that it looked like the shroud had become loose or moved out of its initial position. Now, after looking into this a bit more, we have been able to discover that the design for the shrouds actually does differ between low beam and high beam. So on the low beam, what you're going to go ahead and see is that the shroud itself is attached to the projector. So any position that the projector moves to, the shroud will move with it. Now on the high beam, this is not the case. The shroud is actually in a fixed position, and the high beam reflectable is actually moving on its own independently of the shroud. So what this lets us know is that actually it's not the shroud itself that's moved in this case. It's actually the inner housing, and specifically in this case, we're showing that the high beam is actually moved out of position. Now, we're going to actually go ahead to the rear portion of the light, and I'm going to go ahead and show you how everything more or less looks in here. Now, on the F30 headlight, the high beam and the low beam, they're all part of one single housing. So as you can see in this one, it's loose and it moves around, and I'll continue to wiggle it through this side, but as you can see in here, that's actually the back of the high beam projector or reflector bowl right there. So this does move around, which is what would cause the phenomenon that you're experiencing on your side. Now, to get a bit more into detail, even beyond that, what we're going to go ahead and do is actually look inside the headlight here, and I brought a flashlight to kind of better illustrate. Now, in this particular case right here, this is a F30 headlight that was damaged in transit, so there was some considerable force to this one, and the inner housing unfortunately did break. We kept this just for reference, but I'm going to go ahead and show you kind of what causes a lot of this issue right here. So let me go ahead and try to position the light in a good spot. Now I'm going to go ahead and point out the part where it's currently not holding, and just see right there. Let me try to get a better angle for you. So I'm not sure if you can see right there. What we're looking at is actually this portion right here. So I'll try to get that out of the way. But that right there, it is kind of hard to see with the projector there. Here, let me see if I could angle this around a little bit differently. Okay, this might be just a tad bit difficult to show, but yeah, if you can see where I'm hitting right here with the screwdriver, that's actually a small, kind of like a retaining arm for the inner housing. Now, what happened in this case is that little retaining arm actually broke, and so what you'll see right now as I gently move around the headlight housing itself, you'll see that it's no longer able to be held right there, because there's actually a portion of that broke off, and now it's no longer supporting the housing. So on one end you have a hinge, and on this end where it should have been attached to, it's no longer the case, which is what allows the projector for the low beam and also the high beam reflectable to move around, as is the case shown in your photo. Now, just to give you a bit of additional insight to this, as you can imagine, these are pretty sturdy plastic components. The whole headlight is made out of the same type of plastic, and so in order for something like that to break, there is a considerable amount of force that does need to be applied to that in order for the pieces to break like that. And so what we do typically see in any cases where the inner housing is damaged like that, and that little point is broken, it's either through an excessive amount of impact, typically through shipping. That's one of the biggest times that we see it. But there is also the possibility as well that the adjusters, if the headlight is over adjusted, that does also place additional stress on the inner housing right there. And if tightened enough, it can actually cause that portion to break. These portions on their own, they do not simply just break, just through normal use or even just normal driving. Again, it does require a significant amount of force to be able to do that, which is really why we wanted to show you just kind of the inner housing and show you a lot of the dynamics of what goes into the housing moving in that way that it does to make it appear that the shrouds are out of position. Now again, I'll go ahead and show you the front just one more time just to really just illustrate what's going on there. As you can see in the photos, or you can see in the photo that you provided us, as well as right here, you'll see that the reflector bowl is angled inward and away from the center position that it should be in. And the other thing you'll notice too is on the low beam, this is actually angled inward as well, with the projector actually far too close to the ring, not like how it should sit like that. So this would be a normal resting position, and then this is the position that you've showed us with the gap, and then the projector angled more inwards like that. So that this does conclude the video documentation. I hope it gives a bit more insight as to the reason why the headlight is currently in the position it's in, and also the dynamics inside the headlight, and how it's all kind of secured, and the whole work and layout of the headlight. So that being said, we'll go ahead and touch base with you as to the options we do have available, or we can definitely assist with the replacement. We do have a couple of options there, but unfortunately, being that this is a scenario where an excessive amount of impact is required to break something like that, this is not something actually covered by the manufacturer under warranty. So we will be touching base with you about that. Thank you so much for your time.